Hello and welcome to High Rises Explained. In the south-facing hills of Åsiden district, with the vast expanses of the Finnmark forest and its wildlife as closest neighbor, this giant is located. Solåsblokka is the biggest residential building in Drammen with its 140 residential units. The building was completed in 1973, and if my math checks out, that makes it 50 years old this year. And indeed, the residents celebrated the anniversary earlier this summer, and they were able to do that in their own function room on the 15th floor. A dear child goes by many names, as the Norwegian saying goes, and Solåsblokka goes by a few. It's been called Enkepalasset, the widow's palace, because as the population in the building have aged and women tend to live longer than men, the widows have opted to stay after their partners have passed away, and the majority of the apartments have a pretty decent size of around 90 square meters. A few years back, the average age of the population in Solåsblokka was around 70 years old, and it was nearly impossible to find vacant apartments. But today, the average age is around 65 after a smaller generational change. Kapitalblokka is a more recent nickname, and as far as I can tell, it got something to do with the expansion and glazing of the balconies in 2010. By 2010 standards, this doesn't sound very posh to me, but I don't know. Neither did the head of the housing association when I asked him about it. And Lofotveggen, named after a mountain formation in the Lofoten archipelago north of Bodø. I must admit that I haven't seen this particular set of mountains myself, but I don't think the similarities are striking, except that it is dominating its surroundings. Rather, the main reason for this nickname was that many of its earliest residents were people moving south from northern Norway, mainly in search of employment opportunities in the paper industry that used to dominate the shores of the Drammen. Some might have come in search of a somewhat milder climate, but that last part is purely speculation on my part. In the early 70s, people from northern Norway was often met with disdain, suspicion and sometimes outright discrimination, especially in the housing market, and they would often have a hard time finding somewhere to live. It was not uncommon that newspaper ads for rooms or dorms rooms included the line "Ikke nordlending", not northerners. On top of that, much of the urbanized parts of Norway faced a severe housing shortage, which didn't help on the attitude either. This discrimination wasn't limited to the southeastern part of the country though, it was also present as far north as Trondheim. The nickname Lofotveggen is so well established that the 50th anniversary was mentioned in the local Lofoten newspaper, Lofotposten. The construction of Solåsblokka was approved in May 1969, to much disapproval from the city planning manager at the time, Per Pil. He obviously didn't get his way, but when talks about the second building began, those plans were effectively axed. The building has 3 entrances, A through C, but in the first proposals there were 2 more to the east and a total of 228 apartments. When the proposal was discussed by the City Planning Council in 1967, the building was reduced horizontally, but the allowed number of floors was raised to 18. Eventually, the completed building has 3 entrances, 15 floors and 140 apartments. The building is 43.6 meters tall and have a usable floor area of 11,088 square meters. Of the 140 apartments, 28 have 1 bedroom, another 28 has 2 bedrooms, and the remaining 84 apartments have 3 bedrooms. The parking garage is located in the slope between the high-rise and the road, and divided over its 3 levels have a capacity for 173 cars. These include 1 parking spot for each apartment and the rest for visitors. For those not owning a car or using it for their everyday needs, the area is served by 2 bus lines with departures every 15 minutes or so. The bus stop is conveniently located at the end of the stairs leading up to the building and front deck. Living in the biggest apartment building in Drammen comes with a few perks. In its earlier years, Solåsblokka had its own children's parking, a sort of limited daycare service located on the western corner of the first floor. The Cooperative Housing Association established its own cable TV company that also provided service to the surrounding area. The antenna was located on top of the building. The antenna is gone by now, and the signal is provided by a third party, but the company still has around 1,000 subscribers. The before mentioned common room or function hall, a pretty well equipped exercise facility and a laundry room are all located on the 15th floor. The buildings provide central heating and of course an air raid shelter, except this time two of them. The bigger one with room for 240 people and a smaller one with room for 60 people, 300 in total. The regional branch of the Civil Defense had their doubts about the solution but approved it after conference with the architects. Solåsblokka was designed by local architectural firm Hansen Edland Kirkekorn, with Axel Kirkekorn as the architect in charge. Architect Kirkekorn was again involved in the building, but it underwent a facade rehabilitation in 2001. The formerly exposed concrete facade was clad in white aluminium panels. Although this time, 28 years later, his involvement was limited to providing original blueprints. Bui constructed the building on behalf of DBBL, the Drammen Housing Cooperative, now NBBL, and the engineering works was conducted by local firm Stene Sørensen. While I'm having a hard time finding any useful information about the construction company, the engineering firm is still around and apparently thriving in their new offices at Union Bygge. In 2001, a local TV station made a docudrama series called Livet i Solåsblokka, where the audience could follow and get to know some of the residents over the span of 6 episodes. The episodes had exciting names such as New Neighbors in Solåsblokka, Barbecue Party in Lofotveggen, and the high-rise residents Holiday Paradise. Unfortunately, this series is no longer available online. Lastly, I would like to give a thank you to Ihune Kjeldsen, Ihune Kvam and Arild Bergstøhem for their assistance in the making of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video entertaining or educational, not slightly annoying or at least a worthwhile waste of time, please consider subscribing and or giving the video a thumbs up. And follow me on Instagram at HarrisExplained for some additional content. If you are a professional in the construction industry, have access to a high-rise or a great view to one, or if you think you can contribute to this project in any way, feel free to contact me. Again, thank you so much for watching, and you'll see me again in a later video.